This is Tax Pro Nation, the home of independent tax professionals. Find community, maximize your earnings, and live life on your own terms. I'm your host, Jeff Dolan, Vice President of Pronto Tax School.
And I'm your co-host, Andy Fry, founder and CEO of Pronto Tax School.
As a tax professional, you take pride in giving the best service you can to every client you serve. Too often, your good work goes unnoticed. Too often, your story goes untold. No more. Unnoticed and Untold ends now. Welcome to Season 2, the Season of Story, where it's all about recognizing and appreciating you, the hardworking tax professionals that inhabit the mysterious land known as Tax Pro Nation.
In this episode, we're going to hear from Camea Franklin. She is a single parent and reggae singer who successfully started a tax business on the side from her 9-to-5, only to struggle and go back to it. She is now rebuilding again and as determined as ever. We can't wait for you to hear this conversation with Camea. We're sure it will encourage you and inspire you. Let's jump in.
Thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Some of the great things that we've been hearing from our members that we're interviewing is, not just the successes, but the lessons learned and the failures and the hard parts and what they're struggling with. Because I think a lot of other tax pros are going to benefit from listening to how you overcame certain things and what you learned and certain lessons. And then Andy and I kind of riff off of some of the lessons that we learned. So I think it'll be a really good time. And I think we could start with, how you got into the tax business and any kind of major events in your life leading up to that.
Okay. Well, actually, I first got started in the retail tax prep business when I was laid off. So I used to work for a company. I used to work for AT&T. I worked for a couple places, and I kept getting laid off. And so I was searching for jobs. I was always good at, doing tax and things like that for like family and friends, and people would come to my house and I would do their taxes, but it was nothing like that. I would just do it off of TurboTax and get a couple dollars here and there, but when I was laid off, I was just looking for something to, propel myself forward. At that particular time, I was a college student, and I had a young child, and I was a single parent. So I was looking for something that could get me over, and get me out of the hump and help me to stop struggling. Right. So I was looking for something. And so I have received an email from this other place that said they can help you start your tax business. I had given them a call. I can't think of the name of it. This was like in the 90s. I can't think of the name of it, but I ended up not going with them. But then how I got with Liberty Tax is that they also had a program. And so I believe it was that it may have been that same email. It may have been off like a Craigslist or something like that. But they said, we can get you in the tax business fast. We can fast track you or whatever. I'm like in my late 20s probably. And so they flew us out. This is John Hewitt, John Hewitt is actually the kind of originator. He's a Hewitt, a Jackson Hewitt. He was at H&R Block, but he was running this thing that he gets people into Liberty Tax. He flies you out to Virginia Beach, Virginia, was their headquarters at the time. And so he flew me and several others out. It was the, high caller. It was in a limo. He gave us flew us to his house, dinner, hors d'oeuvres, all type of stuff. That was my 20s. I'm struggling. We looking off the water. And so it's like, dang, this is really how I want to be, If he could do it, I can't do it. At that time, I hadn't even heard of him before, so
wow.
I'm like, wow.
You went straight to the top. I mean, you went straight to the top of the tax industry with that one. I like your style. That tells me a lot about why, when we interact today, you got a nice, bold, like anything's possible spirit. So you went, straight from the struggling. Yeah, to the hors d'oeuvres and the limos, and I like that. So
Right,
what do you
we
think
spent
for?
like 2 days?
Yeah, 2 days, nice. So for that experience part of it, because most of us haven't had that kind of experience with the tax business. Like, what did that do for your excitement level about being involved with Liberty Tax and John Hewitt, and and being able to kind of move from your struggling financially situation into being more financially secure? What was that experience like?
So it was an eye opener, for someone like me, from the inner city who have no idea, how individuals who are in business, how they operate. You know what I mean? And so it was an eye opener as to how things are done, for one, and then it was an eye opener as to what is possible. This is really possible. I can really do this. I can plan a future for my daughter, leave a legacy for my daughter. That's what I was really thinking about at that time.
Yeah.
And so I went back and told my parents and everybody else, like, this is, what I should be doing, because, this guy knows everything. And he, obviously has been really successful in the tax game. He loved H&R Block. Jackson Hewitt no longer with them. Now he's doing Liberty. He knows everything. This is where I should be because I'm pretty good at it. They're like, no, this thing is a scam. Everybody always tells me this is a scam. Don't.
Your family said that?
Yeah.
Your family said that? They said it was a scam?
Yeah. This is a scam.
Whenever the family
Don't believe
members, whenever the family members tell you it's a scam, it's probably a winning idea. You're probably about to get rich or be successful. So, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my uncle said, "Don't do this. I better jump on this and do this right away."
Yeah, that Bitcoin thing, that was a scam.
Interesting. So what did you? I've actually interacted, Camea, with John Hewitt a few different times, and just such a really pioneer and innovator of the industry. In terms of getting to interact with him personally, as you were kind of having your eyes open, like you said, of what the tax can be, what did he personally mean to you, or anything that he said to you that puts you into the successful trajectory you're in today?
Well, I don't really remember what he said personally. I do know we had very little personal interaction. I was in a group. And the first time he called, the second time we were all in a group. But he basically was just saying, we're going to show you. At that particular time, I had a lot of admiration for him, because to me, for him to take a chance on someone like me and then others, not just me, people all over the country were there to get the same opportunity. So for them to have that in their business model, to kind of take a chance on people that were college students and people that just decided that they want to take advantage of it, were, at least advantageous to be able to get that particular opportunity at the time. For them to do that, it was more, I admired them so much, and people that were part of his team, because at that time they were kind of taking you under their wing. He had people like in every state that were going to take you one by one and show you how to become successful with their business model, with their franchise. So, it was mostly admiration. That's how I felt. I felt lucky. I felt like I had got a good opportunity.
Is that what you were looking for? Like a franchise business model, or were you just kind of open to anything and you were just waiting for the opportunity or looking for the opportunity?
Yeah, I was kind of just looking for anything. At the time, I didn't know anything about the difference between a franchise and having a business. I had to learn all of that. I didn't have any business smart. I may have had tax smart, like book smart for accounting and things like that. But as far as how business goes and how different business models are set up and what should happen, I didn't have any experience. So no, I was not looking for a franchise. But that's what that was.
What did you?
That's what I thought I had to do.
What were you able to do, or what were kind of the requirements to get that opportunity to be flown out and wined and dined like that?
You had to submit a request, and you had to kind of like this. You had to tell your story, or you had to tell them why you wanted to be in it. You do have to have. This was a special program, so these people that I was in, they set aside for the regular franchisees that were there that may have had to come up with whatever their franchise fee was, $25,000 or $30,000 at the time.
Right.
Like the way that we didn't have to come up with that. Well, we did have to come up with it, but we didn't have to pay it up front. And
nice. Interesting. Yeah, because that's what those kind of opportunities come with, right? It's like, hey, great opportunity, but cough up the money. And if you didn't have that kind of money, that's why I'm interested how they were able to structure that. Because did you end up going through with it?
Well, I went through with it. Yeah, I actually was with Liberty probably 4 years.
Okay.
But what ended up happening, Liberty, was a great learning experience for me. I didn't have too much business acumen then. I did not, I was, I'm kind of a nice person. So it's like my billing practices at that particular time, I didn't really understand why, our average price rate, because everything that they have is based on your average price rate. And that's how you can manage your business, and your profit margins and things like that. So I was consistently under the average price that you needed to have as a store to be able to get the profit margin. So what they did, basically, they loaned you the franchise fee. They loaned you your down payment to get your your storefront, and they loaned you your startup. So you starting off with quite a bit of debt with them.
Got it.
Yeah, and so you have to maintain a certain number, as far as people coming through the door and as far as how much you're charging people to be able to first pay them their money and then make money. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So
Yep. So you took a pretty big risk on yourself. Like you invested in yourself and said, I have faith in myself that I'm going to learn this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to take on this loan knowing that I'm going to do the work to pay it back. That's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah, and at that point in time, like I said, I didn't have a job. I wasn't working. At that time, I had been off for quite some time, so my 401k is gone. This is all that I have, at this time. And I have to be able to pay my mortgage and make sure my daughter can eat dinner every day. You know what I mean? That type of stuff.
Wow.
Like managing all of that at the same time of trying to start this business. So I put everything I had into Liberty.
So you had to be profitable from pretty much day one. Did they tell you what the kind of runway was to get profitable?
They probably put it in the paperwork. It probably was a projection, but no, it wasn't spelled out. No, and I did not consult an attorney for any of that paperwork. I just signed the paperwork.
Yeah.
So that was that's what I say it's a learning experience. I never do anything like that again. Everything I go through the attorney now.
Right. So how long did it take you to get profitable?
I never was profitable with Liberty. I did that for 4 years. I was never profitable. I was never profitable with Liberty. I made money, but I was not profitable with them.
Interesting. And were you having also other team members, like other tax preparers that you were working with, or were you working by yourself?
Yes, I had. I had about 10 employees. I had maybe 6 preparers, and then they did this guerrilla marketing type thing. So I had like maybe 4 guerrilla marketers. So I had marketers and I had preparers.
Wow.
So, literally like in the off season, when August came, I started getting like high anxiety because I'm like, how am I going to pay all these people? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause they
I'm
was
actually
gonna
getting
work.
very anxious. I'm getting very anxious right now, just even hearing about it. I feel like I'm spending tons of money. I don't even know what to do right now. I'm actually sweating.
I know, right? I'm like hearing you go
10
from
tax preparers?
She went
That's
from
that's a nightmare.
She went from I don't even know what taxes are to like here's 10 employees, go.
Foot on the gas. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
it's
what
interesting
that's
that
what I was into.
Yeah, no, that takes a lot of courage to do that. I mean, that definitely take you to a full different level as a person and as a business owner, one way or another. I mean, I think you hit on an interesting point, Camea, in terms of I know for myself and my own maturation of doing businesses and some of them working out better than others, and we all know how it goes, I guess, by this point. But the math part of it. Right? Like if you're not charging the correct fee for that business model, and then you have, the debt and you're maybe a little bit too nice, you care a little bit too much about the client getting that, quote unquote best deal. A lot of business has to do with just straight math is what I found out. And if the math is in your favor, you're having a good time. If the math is not in your favor, it kind of can be a rough deal. Maybe give us some context of like what part of the country were you in? And also, Camea, like, why did you have a challenge charging more to clients?
Okay, so I was in the Midwest, Detroit, Michigan. That's where I'm from. So, inner city, Detroit. Why did I have a problem? I guess, and then this has to do with mindset. This has to do with your mind conditioning, based on where you are, by it being the inner city, that at that time, someone who would come in and they have like 2 W-2s and that's it, or maybe, so you're hitting that earned income credit money. And, their thing was, okay, that type of customer needs to be $389, for instance.
Right.
And at that time, I didn't understand why they had to pay so much. I just really, if I look back on it, it was my internal thought pattern, my conditioning on what I should or should not pay, in the hood, a lot of people always looking for the hookup. I'm just being honest with you, and so it's like, yes, people want to pay $50, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's like that whole conditioning is the reason why I think, honestly, I didn't feel comfortable charging those types of rates. People that are like me coming in with their children, and it's like they're paying almost $400 for what? That's how I felt.
Right.
Really,
makes sense.
But really, there is a value. I mean, if you can do it on TurboTax, do it there. But if you come in here, this is how much we charge. Because this is how much we charge. This is the fee. That's where I had to get my mind set. And I just honestly, actually within the last 5 or 6 years, finally get my mind to come up off of that charge what you're worth. That's what that has to do with. You're worth more regardless to who it is. This is your minimum price. Inflation doesn't do that. Donald Trump and all the rest of the people charge for what they have, so you have to charge. It is what it is.
Yeah.
We're in a capitalistic society. So we have to charge a fee. And that's just it. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually had a big struggle myself with that for many years. And actually my dad has been in tax business for, I guess 54 years, 55 years, something like that, where we always undercharge relative to our competitors. Like our competitors would call us and say like, guys, what are you guys doing here? Like, what are you doing? You can't be doing like LLC partnerships for like $200. What are you like, what's the matter with you idiots? Like you're ruining it for everybody. And I would just kind of laugh and hang up, but what I realized, right, is that it's like by allowing clients to pay you more, you're able to actually do more and actually become like successful in your own right. And when you actually care about your clients, the more successful you become, the more they eventually get. So it's like we're all contributing to that how did you kind of like, because I know it sounds like, and like I said, going through that whole mind process you're talking about, because we would work with a lot of people that they might have made $10,000 that whole year, right?
Wow.
So if you're charging them $400, I mean, that's a significant percentage of their entire money, right? And if you charge them $400 out of their refund, that's $400 less that their kids are going to have, and that only comes once a year for them. So it's actually a pretty significant thing, right? And I can definitely understand that. I never really liked charging those rates to the simpler types of returns. But then there's also the factor of, as you move up your career, right? You start working with more complicated situations, and you start letting your tax preparers, like the people that like handle that type of simpler return, or making different moves. Like what really enabled you? Because when I've interacted with you before, Camea, I feel like you're like kind of like a leader in our community for helping other tax pros kind of get beyond that in a way. And I think that comes from like your own experience of you having to get beyond that. Like what actually took you to where now you feel like you've kind of conquered that mindset part of it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm tired of struggling. Like now I'm totally on my own. So I did, they make you do this non-compete. They don't care, So I laid low. I had to work again. I had to get a job. I had to start over. And so now I have the business again, totally independent. And I'm funding this myself, with my job and with my savings and with my money. And so that kind of changed it, and then I have kind of leveled up to where now I'm targeting more businesses than just that early season filer. I'm doing more businesses and doing, I got the enrolled agent credential. I got the enrolled agent credential so that I could feel like I have the education, to back up what I can charge, and just constantly get the education that I need to be able to provide good tax planning and tax consultation, offering for people who are on a higher level. So that's what I have done. But as far as charging them more, I kind of just let them know up front, what the price is. So, and if they're okay with it, okay, and I try to give them options, also on what they can also do and options on how to, kind of help their financial situation, kind of like a throw-in in a way. So that just makes me feel better, and it doesn't really cost me anything because it's not really like that. It's just general information that they may or may not know. And then a lot of people are there. Yeah. Then a lot of people that where my office is now, they are self-employed. They have little small businesses that they do. So they, their cash business, car washes and hair salons and stuff like that. Well, that's going to cost you because that's still a business return. So even though they may have other, their personal return in Schedule C, but to me it's still a business return, and so that makes me feel like I can charge that rate, the higher rate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's truly worth it. Yeah, I mean, it's worth it when you're that business client and your other options to work with somebody of your caliber, your level of skill, your credential, your experience is not cheap, and it's not cheap for a reason, because especially now that you're an EA, right, is you have that whole backup component, right, where if there's any, like, before this podcast, you were on the phone with the IRS fixing somebody's problem, from what I understand, right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So right. So like when we talk to clients about what they're paying for, right? Maybe this would be expensive if all that was happening between us was I just filled out your paperwork. The thing is that a lot of people have thought that way, and then they had a problem later that I actually went and just took care of and made it go away. So they found out that they actually were paying for that right now.
Right.
And so is that something that makes sense to you, client? And certain clients that you only have to tell them that once, and then they'll mention that to other clients when they're referring, like, hey, don't try to cheap out on Camea. Like, don't try to be cheap on all that. It's like, she's going to take care of you, right? And so there's that client selection piece. There's that matching up piece. I think be really interesting to hear from you, Camea, with your amazing experience really with Liberty Tax, taking off, even though it didn't work out perfectly, you learned a ton. Now you're on the independent level. What do you think is the biggest differences between being in a franchise and being independent? And particularly, we mainly service and speak to the independent market. What's the biggest differences that you see, and what could we as independents, learn from franchises, do you think?
Well, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing to use, economies of scale, like what franchises do to collectively do advertising and things like that, even though advertising has changed since I was with Liberty. Now social media is all the rage, and everybody is doing that, that option. But using or collaborating with other professionals is still a good thing. The good part about it now is you can collaborate, like for instance on Facebook with all these groups and stuff like that, without having to pay that franchise fee. You might have to pay $19.99 a month or $9.99 a month, or however much that it's these really high groups that have really perfected their group in providing value to people that way have. But you don't have to, you're not tied in, and you're not tied into contracts that tell you what you can and cannot do, as far as your own personal space and your business, because that's one of the downfalls. Everything that you do, you have to submit it to them first. Is it okay? Because, they don't want to get sued if this particular wording is wrong, because they'll get sued on a higher level. Or if you don't like what their commercial says, you still have to go with it when you're at a franchise versus the independent. You can say what you want to say, so those are that's one of the good things. But I think you can still benefit from that model using people collectively, collectively coming together as a group to get something done or to buy stuff in bulk. Networking is good, so that way you can still get a good rate for things, because when you're going out there by yourself, you may want to do something for a whole, zip code or so. I don't, just for example, you might want to do something for a whole zip code where it might be 5 businesses at that zip code. I know we're competitors, but we could try to do something, collectively, or if you're trying to help the community, if you're trying to hit TV or something like that, it might be more financially easier for everyone if you collectively came together and did that, So that's what I think franchises, can give, show independent people. But independent really is better when it comes to this business to me, because there, it doesn't really take that much to start, especially now you can do it from home virtually. Yep. And you can get your own clients through, social media. You can basically have your own virtual office that way. You don't even have to have an office anymore, a store. To be honest, that's where it's going to. So really,
it's kind of amazing, right? I mean, it's kind of an amazing, yeah. It's actually better than, it's been tough. I mean, it's been very difficult, right, for the past few years. But it's also, I mean, if you look at it, it's like, especially when you see, right, Camea, all these other people that are losing their jobs, losing their businesses, and maybe those jobs and those businesses are not coming back. You kind of have to be grateful for what we have, even though, being an independent tax pro is not all, it's not all peaches and cream by any means. But, a lot to be grateful for, and a lot of, sometimes for me, I mean, with reference to the franchise conversation, is just having lower costs of doing business, right? Because again, with that math part of business, if you got to pay somebody, 20% or even 10% off the top, it changes the whole math of everything that you got to do. It changes the math on every client, and it never goes away. It stays there for as long as you, So I think it's a good time for. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a big commitment, like a marriage, or it's maybe not quite up to that level, but it's nearby there as far as the business version. I'd be interested to hear, Camea, how did becoming an enrolled agent help you? Get to where you are now, and what would you say for somebody else maybe thinking about doing that? Like, how important is it? Is it important? Is it a big hassle? How does becoming an EA factor into this for you?
I think basically the greatest thing that an enrolled agent status has given to me is the confidence booster. Me personally, when people will come in and they'll ask you, are you CPA? Are you, they haven't heard of that, and it just gives you a little bit more of an upper hand when it comes to higher level people, and your, and their confidence in you. That's the greatest thing that is given to me, because to be honest with you, even though I did have to study for the test, a lot of the stuff I knew already, and a lot of people know a lot of the stuff that an enrolled agent knows, tax bases. But I feel that if you are dealing with people's taxes, you probably should be an enrolled agent so you can be regulated. If you really want to be trustworthy, or show that you're trustworthy, because there's so many low under the table tax preparers out here, and people don't know the difference, in a way, they only know, okay, this person said they do taxes. If they can speak the same language that you do on the service level, the person doesn't know, they just say, okay, and they may know exactly what they're doing, but then a lot of people's stuff gets stolen. Their actual returns out here are getting stolen. All different types of things are happening. So at least you being able to be an enrolled agent shows that you're trying to at least be and follow the laws, of the government, and you have something to fall back on. I think it's absolutely necessary, and I'm glad they came out with this designation so that at least if you just doing taxes, you don't have to climb all the way up to be a CPA, especially if you're not doing that type of work. You're not on a regular basis doing attestations, reviews, and stuff like that. You don't necessarily need a CPA, so it's kind of like a transitional designation to me. It's a special situation here. If all you want to do is tax, enrolled agent status is excellent to have to me. I'm thankful that they did have it. Even though I may try to get my CPA.
So Camea, when you got your EA and got that boost in confidence, given your experience with Liberty and that rigor of the systems and the processes that they had to run a real tax business, all of that experience, what have you been able to do now with your independent business as far as setting up your lead generation and your client fulfillment, and how are you going after a target market, and who are you serving? How are you able to set all that up as an independent now with all that knowledge?
So I've combined everything that I've learned over the years, and come up with my own little system, as far as internal services. I only work with one or two people now in the office. So, it's like a combined, from what I've learned from Liberty, and then adding on our different independent type processes. And then as far as sales and lead generation is concerned, I'm getting more now into Facebook. Last year was the first year that I started really using social media heavy to market to people and niching down to a certain industry or certain types of people and doing different parts. I always used to do, the early season marketing where you do the flyers, the direct mail, that's kind of old school where you do those things and you wait for them to come. But now, due to Facebook and Instagram, you can use their lead generator to be able to target a certain demographic that they have already built for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I used that last year. Facebook, the Facebook sales generator.
Has that worked for you?
I'm getting Instagram this year. It works. I was kind of afraid. I'm used to the old way. Of course, we do referrals. Right. That's part of it too, where then that was probably 65 or 70% of my business comes from referrals. Like people just referring more their friends and family or whoever they know to us. Yeah, I'm mostly a referral-based business. But last year, I would say that Facebook did help me gain several clients. So I want to say maybe about 5%. But I didn't do a lot. I didn't do a lot. But I'm really putting more money into Facebook and Instagram this year.
Nice.
So
your bulk of your business though came through referral. Can you share any particular strategy that helped you get more referrals?
Well, in January, we always do. You refer a friend and they'll get their return filed and it's accepted. We were doing $25. We'll give them $25 cash, the person who referred them. So that worked. This year I might just do gift cards. I'll see. Then we also did where we were giving out a vacation, like just a lodging.
Nice.
If you refer a friend, you get lodging. 3-day, 2-night hotel in like Vegas or Florida. Kissimmee. We'll do that.
Cool.
What else?
That was before all the vacations got canceled. So now it's like you can win a staycation where you can actually stay in your own house and you can stay in your own room, and we'll send some food your way.
Right, that's not gonna work too good now after that. Thank God it was March at least.
Or it could be Camea that it's yeah, right. It could be even more appealing though. Now this next taxi, people's like, I just want to get away to any place.
Right. True.
Any place I can. Right. What is your take on like obviously 2020 has been such a tough year, for a lot of reasons. Like we said, still a lot to be grateful for us as tax pros, absolutely. But also, it's been tough to see the clients, the especially people that are going through tough times. Financially, or there's a lot of emotional things that are going on for people. What's your take on kind of the whole stress ball that's been 2020 of what you've seen with your clients, and maybe what are you looking forward to of the future?
2020 has been rough. I lost my dad July 1st of this year.
Sorry,
it wasn't the COVID though. And then my uncle, he passed due to COVID. So I think, this is kind of the year of change. I've said this before. It's very hard to change on a, spiritual level, on a big level, but change is required when a shift is happening. So I just feel like 2020 is the large shift that has occurred. And so now, it has really made an opportunity for tax professionals, to get on board with this virtual. Me included, I was really, really, really resistant on going virtual even a little bit. I don't want to get this portal like this. I don't want to, but, it's necessary to have those systems in place all the way, everything from start to finish. And that's what I'm training on actually tomorrow. We're doing all systems related type thing because that's the future, virtual. Cool. And, this person has to do this, that, other. So, yeah. And it's like we have to support not only, we have to offer value. We have to offer options financially as well as non-financially, and have a lot of empathy for people coming up because, they may have lost loved ones. All these people got unemployment. They probably have no clue that their tax return getting ready to change. They got all that
PPP
big money
loans
with that unemployment, that PPP loan stuff, and just helping them with that forgiveness piece, and so all of that stuff together, it aligns. You have to have patience and just empathy for people, and understanding their situations too.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And correct me if I'm wrong, but with all that being said, and with all these events and all this, these winds of change that you're talking about, I feel like for the kind of the higher level tax pros like you and some of the other people we've been having on the podcast, the question of why I'm paying you higher than I would pay somebody else, I feel like is kind of just going to go away, because like people that were, like there'll always be people that want to pay less. That's just part of like doing business, right? But I feel like the client appreciation for the tax pros that have been there, that have been able to deal with all this complexity, that have been available, when needed for these emergency situations. I feel like that appreciation between the clients and the tax pros, I feel like it's kind of gotten stronger than it's ever been. Have you seen some of that in your own business, Camea?
I think so, because now, people are leaning on you because they don't know what to do. They honestly don't know, with that whole indicator thing where you had to figure out what your if you wanted to get the stimulus. That whole thing was so crazy,
Yes.
And it's like really people needed help to still need help to try to get their money. And then with the IRS being closed the way that they are, people really need help. Just like the person that I just got help for, they're still looking for their refund. It's like people need help, Yeah. So they will need us now more than ever, They
because I think too
the system.
The TurboTax and all the free services, and if you have a simple tax return, I think now more than ever people are saying, let me just do this myself. And then if you don't fall into that simple category, you're hiring somebody. It's just there's not many people that are brave enough to say, I got stuck and I don't know how to do this in the free software or the TurboTax software, that are going to just try to file something and, just, what do you call it? Just hope and pray, like, hey, let me just see if the IRS does something.
Hope and pray? What's that again? Yeah, I think it's interesting because you start dealing with more business people and entrepreneurs, and like you said, Camea, about getting a chance to go to Virginia Beach and look at that whole operation and look out on the ocean and all that. Like, is there anybody that that achieves like a good level of financial success in America and is doing their own taxes? Is there anybody? Have you? It's possible, but it's somewhat rare. Would you say?
What are you trying to say, Andy?
I would say it's really rare. At some point.
I'm trying to get Jeff to stop doing his own taxes. That's what this is.
At some point.
I'm trying to get you a client here, Camea. Jeff needs help. I'm trying to convert him over. Help me out here.
I'm getting self-conscious over here. Andy's making me feel bad over here.
Yeah, that's part of getting clients, right, Camea? You got to make them feel bad before you can make them feel good,
Before they need, you need some big help. No, but eventually they may need help, especially if they're doing stuff not on the cuff, or their stuff is really unorganized or something like that. They're going to need you, because eventually stuff is going to happen, and then they don't know what to do, and everything. You got to unwind all of that stuff.
Yeah, but luckily Jeff knows all of us, so he's kind of drafting along, asking questions here and there. I'm like, man, you're getting too smart, man. You got to become a professional, man. That's the solution for you. So, but anyways, I didn't mean to. I was just having a little fun with my podcast mate here.
Yeah, that's okay.
Why don't you? I know you had one of the best nicknames in our recent nickname conversation. What was your nickname, and why do clients love that?
Did I say it was Lil Brown Diva? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
The name of my company is Tax Divas. So I'm like under 5 feet, so I'm 4'11", and nice. And I'm brown because I'm African American. So it's like Lil Brown Diva. I'm a diva, and I'm little, and I'm brown.
I like it.
Nice. So what does a diva mean for the clients? Like, why do they like that? Is that's gives them part of that, kind of differentiated experience, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's like a diva is like on top of everything. She strives for excellence, and I don't like the part where they say that she's a bee. Can I say she's a bee? She's a bad name. That's one of the definitions too. But we try not to be that way. We just we strive
only
for
with the
excellence.
IRS,
right?
Only when needed.
No, we'll be nice. We'll be nice to the IRS, right?
Yeah, maybe just to the IRS only.
Yeah.
Yeah, only if it helps you. Right.
So what's your
is.
shout out your website for us?
It's taxdivasdetroit.com, or on Instagram, it's Tax Divas.
Nice.
Awesome.
And Facebook.
Well, thank you so much,
Camea Franklin also. You're welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. To close out the interview, what would be, for somebody that's kind of, back in your spot where you started off, where they, maybe they got laid off a couple times, or looking at this business as a potential opportunity. They don't necessarily know, what's involved. They might be listening to this podcast to learn more about what's involved and hear your story. For somebody that's just getting started out like that, especially if they have a financial need, they're trying to see if they can actually make a life for themselves in this business. What's like the number one piece of advice that you would give that person?
I would say definitely to consult the proper counsel. Have an attorney. Have a game plan and have an exit plan as well to make sure that you are protecting your own self. And do the pros and the cons on the business, just to see if you move forward. But
would you recommend they go the franchise route, or would you recommend they go independent? Starting off
at this particular point in time, I would not. No, because it's too easy to get into the tax business, and like I said, it's changing, and I don't think that having a household name, a combined name, I mean, it could help, because it could be the same thing where they just, combined will, have certain offerings as a whole, as a group. But you can do that for other people. But to me, the money that they charge up front is just not worth it in the end, especially if you don't have it. Now, if you have it and you can see that this is something that you can actually grow with, and you do that plan, and you weigh the pros and the cons, and you get an attorney, and he said it's A1 for you to go, then go ahead. But for the general person, if they're like me, then I would say no, not now. Right.
Good word. Well, thank you so much for that good advice. Hopefully somebody listening just got a good idea and got direction.
Thanks, Camea. I really appreciate you.
You're welcome. Oh, no problem. Okay. Thank you. Have a good week. Okay. Bye-bye.
You too. Thanks, Camea. Take care.